atmosphere, noisy and optimistic inside the Centenary Stadium as the hosts stand just 90 minutes away from a place in the semi-final of the Copa America and a probable meeting with the reigning champions, Brazil, the most famous football team in the world. What a huge prize at stake for the 11 players and the coach, Francisco Macherana, given the duty tonight of making Colombia's dreams come true here in Armenia. But with such a big prize comes pressure, the expectation of a nation. Can the Colombian players handle it? Well, they've certainly done a pretty good job so far. This is Julio Uribe of Peru, who will be trying to make their job even harder tonight. He coaches the opponents. But Colombia with 3 wins out of 3, 5 goals scored and not a single goal conceded, a maximum of 9 points out of 9 in the first phase, have the best record of any of the teams who've qualified for these quarterfinals. Referee tonight, Mexican Gilberto Alcalá. But well as Colombia have done so far, tonight is different. This is knockout football. We've got to have a winner on the night. Penalty shootout to decide if the teams are still level after 90 minutes. And standing in Colombia's way, Peru, a team that qualified for the last day by the skin of their teeth, really, scraping in as the 3rd place team behind Brazil and Mexico in Group B. Peru winning only 1 of their first phase games and conceding 5 goals. It was the poorest record of any of the qualifiers. But if you were watching last night's match between Costa Rica and Uruguay, you'll have seen that it rained very heavily here in Armenia and continued to rain throughout the match. I'm glad to say that the weather is back to the norm for this part of the world. 23 degrees centigrade, hot, sunny, and the pitch has recovered well from the battering it took yesterday. So Colombia, odds-on favourites to win here tonight. But Brian Marwood, that level of expectation can in itself produce problems.
Yes, Al, it's sometimes very difficult to live with, but they really have played with a lot of confidence, and understandably so. They're on their own patch, and no doubt they would have prepared perhaps that little bit better than what they would have normally done for a lot of tournaments. But when you look at Peru, you've got to think their form in the group games was very patchy indeed. And of course they are without the influential threat of Hidalgo and Lobaton and Muchatrigo, which are arguably their 3 better players. So I think that not only the fans of Colombia will be expectant, the players also, once they've seen that Peruvian lineup.
The first cross for the Peruvian defence to deal with as the combination down Colombia's right of Gonzalez and Grisales caused problems again. Those two have been very effective combination. And there's another cross for Peru to take care of, which they did, in fairness. Pajuelo getting the ball away. Gonzalez back in possession. And this is Vargas. Just showed too much of the ball to Jorge Soto, one of 2 brothers in the Peruvian team. Jose Soto, the central defender, is the other.
One of the noticeable aspects of last night's game on this playing surface was that just look at how long the grass is, and sometimes it's not conducive to fast-flowing football. But I've got to say, we were a little bit worried going into that quarter-final game last night, but it was a terrific, entertaining match, and we really hope that tonight is equally as good.
Injury here from the previous attack, just delaying the restart. A capacity crowd of 30,000 inside this neat and modern stadium that was only built 13 years ago. Last night, Uruguay snatched a very late victory over Costa Rica in another quarter-final.
I think it's Grisales, the injured player, Alan, bravely going for a challenge in the box. But Colombia will be pleased in this opening couple of minutes. They've taken the game to Peru. Peru defensively have looked very shaky indeed. And there is Grisales at the far post, really, just trying to get on the end of that cross. And he has been a threat through this tournament, scoring 1 particular good goal from the edge of the box, which he fired in to the bottom corner of the net and celebrated in a wonderful fashion when he took the policeman's helmet off him. But it really, so far, it's been so good for Colombia.
Yes, I'll certainly be anxious to get Grisales back on the field. That goal you mentioned, their first against Venezuela, their first in the tournament. Colombia, remember, have never won the Copa America. They got to this same quarter-final stage 2 years ago before losing to Chile, and their best performance in recent years was finishing third, and the competition was held in Uruguay 6 years ago. Peru have a more impressive history in the championships, twice previous winners, though the last time 26 years ago, and in more recent times they reached the semi-final 4 years ago. Peru, I remind you, in the white with the red sash, Colombia in the yellow and blue.
Well, their passing's been very good so far, Colombia. They've been very bright. Again, just trying to exploit any weaknesses that Peru may well have in wide areas. Peru lining up with 5 at the back. They like to get their full-backs forward, but I think they're going to be under so much pressure during this football match that I'll be amazed if Jorge Soto on this right-hand side and Hernandez on the left really get anywhere near over the halfway line.
That's quite a defensive formation picked by Peru, with an extra defender protecting the back three, although in fairness they are badly hit by suspensions and injuries indeed. So are Colombia. 3 players banned from previous misdemeanors for Colombia, another 2 out injured. Peru also have 3 serving suspensions, and several players either injured or playing despite being less than 100% fit. So I think the effects of all these games in quick succession is now really beginning to bite here in the Copa America.
Well, this is the man Peru need to get on the ball. Del Solar really possesses a wonderful left foot, and he's got great passing ability, controls things from the middle of the field, and the more he's on the ball, the better chances that Peru are going to have to get through to the semi-finals.
On the ball again, and a handball. Ramirez, the guilty man. The referee's going to be a man under pressure tonight. Every decision that goes against Colombia will be greeted, as that was, with howls of disapproval. You might just have caught sight there of Grisales back on the field after his injury early on here. The free kick swept over to Jorge Soto on this near side. Uribe and Hayo, the 2 players in the core of the midfield here for Peru. It's Hernandez bringing the ball forward from a midfield position for the Colombians. Wearing number 6 is Vargas, and the interception by Zavalos.
Well, they almost look as if Peru, Alan, have pushed Jorge Soto a little bit more into a midfield area and really just packed that area of the field. I think that Colombia, their passing so far in this tournament has been excellent, and I think that Peru have decided to set the stall out not to allow them to try and dominate in that area of the game.
Gonzalez, a little back healer, keeping possession on this near side of the field for Ramirez, and now for Grisales, who switched from the right to the left. Gets it back from Ramirez. The crowd enjoying this little keep ball session by Colombia. It's evident already that the pitch below it has recovered from the rainstorm, and if you didn't see that game last night, believe me, it absolutely battered down for about 3 or 4 hours, but it is not a very true surface, Brian.
No, it isn't. I think the grass is amazingly a little bit too long for 2 teams, or most of the teams in this tournament, that like to get the ball down and pass it around. That certainly won't be particularly helpful, but again, what Peru are doing is they're really just trying to condense play, not really allow Colombia to a certain point of the field, because they then will close down. Just look at the amount of bodies that Peru have in that almost central midfield area.
Bedoya, the left fullback, then the long ball, which Peru should deal with and have.
Well, that's the ball I think that Peru are going to have to be very watchful of, and Colombia need to just try and exploit those areas, because if they really are content, Peru, to crowd the midfield, there are going to be areas of the field, particularly those wide areas, full-back positions, that if Colombia can make the right runs, there is space there.
Well, there's a neat little turn to open things up down that left-hand side, but the Peruvian goalkeeper, Ibanez, equal to the cross. And once again, it's Gonzalez winning it back and feeding it on to Ramirez, and on in turn to Hernandez. as Colombia neatly play their way forward. Bedoya now in possession for them. And Bedoya almost found a way through.
Well, I think already we've seen the pattern of the game, and Peru just leaving one up front, packing the midfield, defensively just trying to maintain a lot of numbers there, and just say to Colombia, you know, you come and take the initiative. You're the side that's expected to win this match, so we'll hope to really try and counter-attack against you, but it's going to be very difficult with only playing one up front.
And they certainly seem to have taken the initiative early on here. Here's Grisales. Wins the throw-in, didn't quite go for a corner. Garcia, one of the strikers, back defending deep inside his own half. Another indication of the amount of possession Colombia have had in this opening almost 10 minutes.
Well, it must have been a difficult decision for Uribe, the Peruvian coach, to think, well, do we go out and play our natural game? And that's to attack, that's to pass the ball around. And perhaps knowing that Colombia will exploit that situation, or do we just pack our defence and midfield, and hopefully we can hold on, and we may get a little bit luck if we can get a counter-attack or possibly a set piece and convert that into a goal.
Hernandez. It's a poor ball, trying to feed it short to Gonzalez, who's only managed to give it back to another Hernandez, the Peruvian version. And Bedoya loses his footing and loses possession. Jorge Soto on the ball for Peru. And that's a useful pass as well. I think anyone up front, like Holsten is tonight, is going to feel a little lonely, because he's going to be severely outnumbered as he was then, and a little bit of a disagreement between him and the Colombian Vargas after he'd been initially fouled by Yepes.
Well, it's going to be a difficult evening for Holsten. He's really got to carry the attack all by himself. Peru don't seem that anxious to join him whenever the ball has gone forward, so he's really going to be left to his own design, see what he can carve out for himself, and it's going to be extremely tiring for him, because to cover that amount of ground on your own is pretty difficult.
Hernandez with the throw, looking to get it back, but the referee's seen an infringement. Free kick to Colombia, who won Group A, 3 wins out of 3. They beat Venezuela 2-0, Ecuador 1-0, Chile 2-0. And a reminder that the winners of this match will go through to the semi-final, where they will meet either Brazil or Honduras in Manizales on Thursday. Almost certainly, you would think, Brazil. So if it's Colombia, the hosts, against Brazil, the holders, that would be a semi-final to relish. But there's a lot of football to be played before that tie becomes a reality.
Well, Peru, I think already we've seen, are going to make it very difficult for Colombia, because they are just defending in vast numbers, and Colombia are going to have to be patient, keep moving the ball around, which is difficult on a surface which just carries so much long grass, but you're going to have to maintain that, try and get into wide areas, try and get perhaps their fullbacks forward to complement their wide players.
And Bedoya has got in here. That looked like handball. I'm not sure the referee saw it. Aristizábal's shot when the ball came to him, and presumably if that had gone in, a goal would have been given. That was a definite handball by Bedoya.
Well, without a doubt, it's amazing the referee didn't see that, but it was a half chance, wasn't it, for Aristizábal, and you would think in the form that he's shown so far in the Copa America, he would have done better with that. Really is a poor shot.
Yes, a reminder that the number 10 has 3 goals, 2 of them penalties, and with Paulo Wanchop, who has 5 goals, and Montesinos of Chile on 3, both now out of the tournament. Their countries eliminated, and Aristizábal, I suppose, has a chance of finishing top scorer. A rather ambitious effort by Holsten, gets the derisive boos of the obviously mainly Colombian crowd here. Vargas in midfield, linking with the busy little Ferreira, the number 8, as Gonzalez plays it through. Jorge Soto back defending this time. And Zeballos with the long ball again. Holsten what hope has he got? It's got to be so accurate into his feet, otherwise it just keeps coming back.
Well, he hasn't got a prayer. He really has not got a prayer unless the ball is accurate from the back. It needs to be played into certain areas.
Aristizábal goes down. It looked like the faintest of nudges, I have to say, but the referee's brought it.
Well, the referee has also got to be said has favoured Colombia on a couple of occasions so far, and as you've rightly said, he bought the free kick. It was a strong challenge by Pauelo, the number 5 for Peru, but Aristizábal very quickly to go to ground, and now a good opportunity. It's a good area, and it's certainly once again quite amazing. We saw it last night, how far these referees take the wall back, and I think last night when we saw the goal from Uruguay that clinched the game, the wall certainly looked all of 15 to 20 yards from the ball.
Well, Bedoya is a left-footed player. If the angle's right, he's going to fancy it. Aristizábal, who might have been a contender to take it, is actually standing in amongst the Peruvian defenders in the wall. And over the top from Gonzalez.
Well, it was certainly up and over, and it was certainly as close as I've seen a lot of dead ball situations. There you can see the ball dipping down, but that was probably a foot wide of that left-hand post. But again, just look at how far the wall is away. It really is incredible.
I think David Beckham would get about 50 goals a season if our referees were to interpret the 10 yards in that way.
Well, then it's very, very difficult once again for Holson. We talked about that type of quality into him. At the moment, he hasn't had that. He's going to be shattered by half-time because he's just chasing lost causes at the moment.
I feel tired just watching him. He has covered all areas of the field and absolutely no support. I suppose you can understand Peru's tactics from their point of view to get through to a penalty shootout when absolutely anything happened. A pub team could beat the greatest team in the world from a penalty shootout. Then I suppose you'd say that that's their most sensible route to success here today.
Well, it's a high-risk strategy because I don't think that defensively they're good enough to really play this way. At the moment, they are frustrating Colombia, but you know, just that one piece of magic, that one piece of luck, maybe a set piece, who knows? And if Colombia get that first goal, Peru then are going to have to come out and play.
But at the moment, they are more than content to sit back and watch Colombia play in front of them. As Hernandez plays it forward to Holson, now Jorge Soto. Again, rather ambitious, and it was like fielding that pass from one of his own defenders there for Oscar Cordoba.
Well, you can't see the Colombian skipper Cordoba getting too much of the action this evening unless Colombia do go and press ahead and get these goals that will open the game out. At the moment, it's a one-sided affair. Colombia having bags of possession. Peru just trying to remain organised and making sure that they close down Colombia when they get into certain areas of the field.
Well, these Peruvian tactics are all very well, but what do they do if they concede a goal? Bedoya's cross straight into the hands of Ibanez. Colombia have never hosted the Copa America before, so they'll be anxious to take full advantage of home advantage this time. And they have not had the best of times in their World Cup qualifiers, so it's a big opportunity for them to bring a bit of much-needed joy to a country that's had so much criticism in, well, I guess you'd say the last couple of decades, if you spread the picture wider than the sporting arena. This is great build-up play again, and it almost broke too for Vargas on the edge of the area.
Well, it's going to have to be very precise if Colombia play that way, because, again, just look at the bodies that Peru have got in their way. I think the best option is to try and get wide. In particular, Bedoya on that left-hand side has looked pretty good when he's got forward. Gonzalez also on the right-hand side. And if they can get their attacks functioning in wide areas, that'll certainly open the game up and spread Peru out a little bit.
Wonderful ball there by the right full-back Gonzalez. And it took two men to stop Grisales latching onto it. Well, this is better from Peru. Del Solar, a very gifted footballer. And that was was a rather foolish challenge, because it didn't look as though Holston was really going anywhere then. And a free kick here could be dangerous.
Well, it was a poor challenge, really, but now it's given Peru an opportunity. We've seen one effort from Colombia from a set piece from a similar distance, and now it's Peru's chance. They haven't had too many efforts on goal. They haven't been forward that often, but they'll be hoping to try and conjure something up from this.
Captain number 8, Hayo, there, getting in amongst the Colombians in their wall. And it was a good effort, but didn't really carry the kind of pace that would cause a problem for Cordoba.
Oh, just a long, long way out, isn't it? As this free kick has struck. It was certainly heading towards goal, but the comfortable take by the goalkeeper.
And off go Colombia on yet another attack. Poor ball, though, easily blocked by Del Solar, who's available again. Journalists here in South America covering this tournament, indulging in one of their favourite pastimes. I don't mean visits to the bar, I mean picking the best team of individuals involved in the championship so far, and the number 20, Del Solar of Peru, is one of those. They have unanimously voted as amongst the more gifted midfielders here.
I think he's a fine choice. I think we talked about it already, possesses a wonderful left foot, and that ability just to play at that pace that seems to be so relaxed, so composed, and he has got that necessary quality in that area of the field. But so far we've seen Peru, they have been a little bit more attack-minded than what they are tonight, but you know, I guess who can blame them? They're trying to frustrate Colombia, and after 20 minutes, so far so good.
Hernandez then giving the ball away, and they slow it down immediately. They do regain possession, Peru, understandably to give the defenders a breather to regroup again. Here is Del Solar, proving he's got strength as well as good technique then. Ceballos goes for the return ball and gets it, the number 2. And perhaps if they get tempted to come out a little bit more, it will make it a better spectacle here. Well, they just
look as if they get a little bit of confidence as well, and I think that they wouldn't have wanted to concede a goal too early in this game. That hasn't happened, so the first phase has been accomplished. Perhaps now they might just open out a little bit. Del Solar is getting on the ball more, which is encouraging not only for Peru but for the game in general.
He's been playing in the Belgian league, incidentally, Del Solar, with Mechelen, who actually went down last season. Hayo with the free kick. Headed on by another distraught, lonely-looking Holston. Some kick that by the goalkeeper as well. Oh, but very calm defending. Did really well there, Hernandez. And Gonzalez couldn't keep the ball in play. Peru will slow it down even more now as it's gone out for their throw. They reached the semi-final in 1997, Peru. And were roundly thumped 7-0 by Brazil. Lost the third-place playoff, so officially finishing in 4th position when the tournament was held 4 years ago. It's a competition that's held once every 2 years, this. Hayo's layoff. Ceballos. And now Peru proving that they too can stroke the ball around. Especially this fella, Del Solar, gets it back from Jorge Soto. And as you say, Brian, midway through the first half and having fairly comfortably dealt with what Colombia have had to offer so far, they're getting more confident now, Peru.
Well, they are. They're beginning to play, and they're beginning to play in better areas. I think that they've had to defend for the majority of the game so far, but we are beginning to see the increasing presence of Del Solar on the ball, and they're just quite happy. I think they've certainly got a little bit of confidence that they haven't conceded anything early on in this match. Colombia would have hoped to have come out, and they did, all guns blazing, but they couldn't get that goal, and they couldn't find a way past the Peruvian side, which I've got to say, this is as well as I've seen them defend in the Copa America so far this year.
Just that one decent half chance, really, for Colombia so far, which fell to their leading scorer, Aristizábal, and that shouldn't even have been allowed because there was a definite handball in the build-up by Bedoya. So So let's be honest, it's not one of the brightest spectacles we've seen in the competition as yet, but remember, it is knockout football. Should they be level after 90 minutes, it'll still be decided on penalty kicks. Almost, we had a goal from open play, and it came from nothing at all, really. And it was that man again, Aristizabal, who tested the keeper.
Well, it was a half chance, if you like, and it was a difficult angle, but the corner of the box. But I guess that's a fella that's got a lot of confidence. Of course, scored 3 goals already this tournament, and Aristizabal thinking, well, I haven't had too many chances on goal. I've had one that I've scuffed wide. This time it's on my more favoured right foot. He let fly, and he wasn't too far away.
29 now, Aristizabal. He's been around some time, and here he is again, battling his way through. He goes down. It could still scramble into an opportunity. Gonzalez gets on the ball. He was challenged as well, and in the end, all they get out of that, Colombia, is a corner.
Well, the fury's on in Peru. I think they felt that Aristizabal had handled the ball here, but really there's a lot of strength, a lot of power, and I don't think it was a penalty. I think it was the correct decision, but there you're just about to see the handball. Aristizabal just kept that ball in the danger area.
So neither team particularly pleased with the referee there, as Gonzalez whips it back in again. And back in possession once more, the number 16, the right back. Gone on the overlap, but Hernandez has come in field instead. Well, they've lost the impetus and given away a free kick, and the crowd getting increasingly frustrated by the Mexican referee, Gilberto Alcalá.
There was certainly an element there of tackle by Ferreira on Jorge Soto round about his ankle, but thankfully for Peru he has recovered. But again, those spoiling tactics from Peru. You know, the fact is that when Colombia are getting chances, Peru seem to be certainly intent on making sure that they're going to make it difficult for them. And there we saw a little bit earlier Aristizabal, an opportunity in the box, wonderful control, but central defenders covering around, doing their job effectively. A good spirit about them, Peru, this evening.
El Salah with a short free kick for them. Now it goes long again towards Holson, who might get there. Well, the goalkeeper hesitated, and that could have been fatal hesitation by Cordoba.
Well, there was some poor defending there that allowed Holson in behind the 2 central defenders of Colombia. And while Colombia are going to have the majority of the possession, they mustn't lose concentration at the back.
Vargas tries to spread it, but that's a pretty awful ball. It's made Gonzalez race back just to keep it in. Now Ramirez on to Vargas. The familiar white wall of Peruvian players spread across the pitch. Bedoya. It's a lovely little turn. Bedoya continues his run to get the return ball from Ferreira. And in the end, it fizzles out again.
Well, Bedoya's been as good as anybody from an attacking sense for Colombia in those wide areas. The left back loves to get forward. He's got a very good left foot.
Ferreira. Vargas. Good technique on display here. Hernandez. Gonzalez. Well, he's always keen for a long-range effort, but it is an indication of how Colombia are becoming frustrated at the deep defence that Peru have set before them.
Well, they're going to have to be patient, the home side, and certainly not only the players but the fans also. They can play their part. I think it'll be very easy for the fans to get frustrated. We talked about the expectations coming into this game. It would have been that of a victory, but so far for Peru, they've defended extremely well, and they've made Colombia work very, very hard for any chances and opportunities that have come their way.
Peru also got to the quarterfinals 2 years ago, and the competition was held in Paraguay. They beat Japan, who are here as guests, Bolivia, and lost to Paraguay in the first phase, and went out in the last 8 on penalties in the end to Mexico. Mexico have made it through again. Vargas. Bedoya. Have to keep going across the field. Ramirez and now Gonzalez. They just bide their time, Peru, and invariably win it back. But here's Bedoya again, continuing to cause them perhaps more problems than anyone in the yellow of Colombia. Oh, great play. Now, was he brought down? The linesman couldn't have been any closer, and the flag stayed down.
Well, they're just outnumbered at the moment, aren't they? Colombia, whenever they've got in the attacking third, Peru got so many men back. There you can see just a picture of Holton, the number 18, virtually playing up front on his own, and there's got to be a space of about 30-40 yards between him and the nearest Peruvian player. Certainly doesn't possess the fast-flowing football that we witnessed last night, but it's a real intriguing tactical battle.
Gonzalez down the line. The cross was just a little bit poor, too short for Ferreira, but they've got another throw here, Colombia. They keep the pressure on. Gonzalez looking for a bit of movement, then gets it back from Gonzalez. Those two never too far apart on the pitch. And between them, they've earned another corner kick for Colombia. Coming up to half an hour gone here in Armenia, in front of a full house, 30,000 crowd, with many millions more watching on television throughout the South American continent. And it's 0-0, Colombia against Peru, playing for a place in the semi-finals. And incidentally, following straight after this game, the last semi-final place will be decided as the holders and 6-time champions Brazil take on Honduras. For a second there was reaching for a card, but he's given Bedoya a second chance. It is a free kick.
Well, it is, and it's a tackle from behind on Del Salar. Del Salar, you can clearly see that Colombia have got a lot of respect for him, and they don't want to give him too much time on the ball because they know that he's got the capabilities to destroy them. But this has been a very frustrating half indeed for Colombia. I think everybody here would have expected them to at least have been 1 if not 2-0 up at this stage of the game. It hasn't happened for them. Peru have restricted them to 1 or 2 half chances, that's all it's been. And ironically, fallen to Aristizabal, who is the top scorer for Colombia so far in this tournament.
Not particularly interested in getting the free kick forward quickly either. And that might be a mistake because they've lost possession now. Bedoya, Jorge Soto having a little stab at the ankles there. And much more pace, as you would expect, when Colombia are in possession, with Grisales now. It's a good ball from Hernandez to Gonzalez. He finds Ferreira edge of the box. That's a free kick in a very dangerous position now. Ferreira chopped to the ground just outside the penalty area.
Well, it was terrific play from Ferreira.
Well, what a crazy thing to do. They took the free kick very early. The goalkeeper's gone on walkabout. He's handled it outside the area. If the referee deems that to be deliberate, he's off.
Well, it's amazing, really, because the referee went very, very quickly indeed to his top pocket. And I really did think he was going to get the red card. And that, as you can see, that is incensed the Colombian players. And, well, Peru very nearly committed suicide. But that is as blatant as you're going to get. That's got to be a red card. And amazingly, the referee has allowed the Peruvian goalkeeper even have to stay on the field.
Well, I don't understand that. To me, that should have been a straightforward expulsion for the goalkeeper. A deliberate handball outside the area, preventing a goal-scoring opportunity. Surely, there was no other option than a red card. How he's got away with yellow, I do not understand.
Big mistake by the referee. Big, big mistake.
What on earth was he doing out there as well? Gonzalez waits to deliver the free kick. It wasn't bad. Ferreira couldn't get the shot on target. Hernandez might, but he's played it straight back, and the linesman's flag ends another attack. That's offside.
I'll tell you what, the rest of this game goes to penalties, and Ibanez makes a vital save. But for me, he's got to go. he has got to go, because that is as blatant as you're going to see. It's right in front of the referee, certainly right in front of his assistant, and still Colombia are having a word with the referee and say, you know, why did you not send him off? I mean, by the letter of the law, he has got to go.
Well, we've all seen games where goalkeepers have accidentally perhaps slid outside their penalty box, or maybe handled the ball in a less than deliberate way and still been dismissed. Now Ibanez, for what I consider to be a perfectly obvious deliberate handball, has only been yellow carded.
It's good to see even referees from around the world, other than here in our own country, can frustrate you.
Gonzalez in possession for Colombia, getting increasingly frustrated, but that's a good ball, and the goalkeeper's having a mad 5 minutes here. What on earth was he doing then?
Well, this is an important spell for both sides. You know, Colombia, can they capitalise now on this little spell of pressure? Can Peru just try and get back their concentration, their focus that they showed so much in that opening 20 minutes that frustrated Colombia? But that was an excellent opportunity.
Hernandez with the corner. Any number of defenders could have got that one clear. Bedoya again. Hernandez looking for the return ball. That's another free kick. Peru frustrated at the referee, but from where I was watching, it was pretty clear Ferreira was chopped down.
Well, it's that man Ferreira again, and you can clearly see that is a poor challenge from the Peruvian skipper, Hi-Ho. Very clever play from Ferreira. That's a couple of occasions there where he's won free kicks on the edge of the box with very clever footwork indeed.
No silver lining for Hi-Ho there. Sorry, I couldn't resist that. Well, there could be a silver lining for Colombia as Gonzalez lines up the free kick.
He's had one so far that hasn't been too far away. Managed to get the ball up and over the wall.
And does so again, and the goalkeeper is nothing if not unorthodox.
Well, you really would have thought that would have been a comfortable save from Ibanez there. It was up and over. He really could have been so easy for him just to almost take a couple of steps and claim it very comfortably, but trying the spectacular to get more pressure on them.
And signals his intent with the corner. The keeper hesitated again, but to be fair to him, he then made a brave save.
Well, it was a brave save indeed, and it was Yepes, the centre-half for Colombia, who's just ready to pounce.
Well, he's very much the story of this half, the goalkeeper Oscar Ibanez, who has both Argentine and Peruvian nationality, holds passports of both nations.
Certainly with just under 10 minutes left, Peru won't be in too much of a hurry to force the pace in this game. As we said earlier, their ploy was to frustrate Colombia, and that's exactly what they've done. One or two controversial moments, and it'll be interesting to see how the referee may well reflect on that at half-time.
Gonzalez with the long ball. Oh, good defending. Pajuelo with a firm header away. And it had to be two Colombians well placed either side of him.
Oh, it was a fantastic carrying header. And like I said, really, this is as well as I've seen Peru play from a defensive point of view against Paraguay, of course, conceding 3 goals, against Brazil, conceding 2 goals. Mexico, they kept a clean sheet, but tonight they have certainly shown a greater will and strength and determination to frustrate Colombia.
But in fairness, there's only one team trying to win it at the moment, and that's very definitely Colombia. As Gonzalez pounces again with another cross, but Bedoya knocking it back into the middle, and Ibanez collects safely. Poor old Holson on his own again.
But again, just look at the distance between him and his teammates. It's incredible. I think that
even now there's only just one coming to the picture.
Well, they've worked on this on the way into the game, of course. They won't have had too much time, and also the preparation has been so difficult for most of the sides because they've either carried suspensions or injuries.
Okay, Soto. All down, but a rather Foolish challenge from Vargas because he wasn't really going anywhere. Jorge Soto then.
Clumsy challenge. I can't believe Vargas has committed something like that, really. I can understand his frustration. They want to get the ball back as quickly as possible and try and mount another attack, but it's just given Peru another opportunity to keep the ball at this end of the field.
Well, Córdoba hasn't had too much to do. Is that about to change here? As Garcia lifts the free kick in, it wasn't bad. Little Pereira, who's caused a few problems with his low centre of gravity and his good control. He's the man that's been chopped down 2 or 3 times already. Colombia haven't as yet made anything out of the free kicks that have resulted, though.
And I think also that's an example of the lack of quality that's gone into the danger area for Colombia. I think that their final ball could have had that little bit more edge to it.
Olsen achieved the impossible there. He's the only Peruvian player in the opposition half, and he was offside. As Hernandez plays it on again to little Pereira. Bedoya making another of those runs and goes down and instantly claims. But the referee deciding that the challenge on Hernandez, who hit the deck, was again legal. Well, he's certainly not in any way inhibited by the atmosphere and the fact that he's taking charge of the host nation here, the Mexican referee, Brian.
Well, he should have booked Hernandez for clearly diving. Savalas was the defender that he felt had come across him, but there was no contact whatsoever. And really the referee, well, he's had some important decisions to make in this first half, and there'll be one decision that will be talked about at the half-time interval, and that would have been, should he have sent Ibanez off?
Ceballos back to the central defender Pazuello, and back further still to Ibanez. 5 minutes from half-time now, and part 1 of the game plan has gone extremely well for Peru. They contained the host nation on their own soil here and contained them pretty well. Hernandez. More of the cutting edge required in Colombia's attack in the second half, you feel. A reminder again that we have to have an outcome here tonight. If it's still a draw after an hour and a half's football, the tie and the place in the semi-final will be decided on penalty kicks.
Well, they're going to have to get better width to their game, Colombia, because of the way Peru is set up. Anything down the middle, it's going to really be food and drink for them. Anything in wide areas is really going to try and spread Peru. Going to be a little bit more space for Colombia to operate in. But there you can see, once again, 4 Peruvian shirts in that central area, making it very difficult. And this is where Colombia have got to try and maintain that width. They just keep content to just go back into the middle. And that's a lot easier for Peru to defend.
Here's Ramirez. It's a good layoff. The shot by Gonzalez was awful.
Well, it was a half chance. And, well, we've seen him score 1 goal from a similar distance, of course, one that we highlighted a little bit earlier. The first goal against Venezuela that set Colombia on their way in the Copa America. I've seen them keep 3 clean sheets so far and score 5 goals, but so far, at the moment, they've been frustrated by this Peruvian side.
A rare bit of defending for Gonzalez and co to do. Orozco winning the header. And now on to Bedoya. Vargas. Across the field again. Gonzalez, I thought, was going to line up another long ranger then. No matter how good you are, it's almost impossible when the opposition get this many men behind the ball.
Well, it is, and the onus is on Colombia to try and break them down, but it's certainly noticeable that the crowd are getting a little bit frustrated now. They believe that their side should have found themselves ahead, but that hasn't happened. They haven't had too many chances, I think, to be fair to Peru. They have defended exceptionally well, but I think Colombia at times have played it in their hands. I don't think they've played with enough width, and certainly The full-backs really are going to have to take more of a gamble and get forward. Gonzalez and Bedoya. Because really, to be fair, they've only got one player to mark the back four, so the full-backs can certainly afford to take a little bit more of a gamble.
Salah prominent in another reasonable Peruvian build-up, but the final shot was a poor effort, really. And, nonetheless, their coach, I think, will look back on what his team has achieved so far with some satisfaction.
He'll be delighted. They're absolutely delighted, because his game plan is exactly doing that. It's going to plan. And he knows that they've got a couple of minutes just to hold out till half-time. Gives them an opportunity to go in at the interval and just remind them of their duties and just tell them that they aren't far away from perhaps, it would have to be say, the upset of the tournament so far.
That's right. Bedoya making all of those runs, going down again. No free kick this time. A good strong challenge then by Vargas has left the Peruvian player on the deck. And now flick forward to Hernandez by Grisales, and the attempted cross by Gonzalez is knocked clear for a corner. Maturana, the home coach, looks on as his team take the corner too hastily in the end.
Peru won't be too much of a hurry to administer treatment to a player that is lying down on the deck at the moment, but it looks as if it's Garcia, the player that's been playing in midfield. We thought that he may start up front, but that hasn't been the case. Holstener has really played a long furrow, and it's been difficult, but he's worked tirelessly, as most of his teammates have, to really frustrate Colombia for the best part of this first 45 minutes.
Can they get the breakthrough, though, in stoppage time here? Well defended corner from Peru's point of view, and then a foul by Ramirez. 2 minutes to be added. An important 2 minutes, you feel, for Peru. Psychologically, if they can go in at 0-0, Brian, they will be thinking, we've got a chance here.
Well, the longer this game goes on, they'll have more and more belief, because Colombia will get tired. I think that they'll also lose the emphasis of their attacking play, and I think that will be an important part of the psychological battle that Peru would have gained over them. And well, you know, they'll know that just after half-time will be also a crucial time, because Colombia will be reminded of one or two things, not just so much by their coach, but no doubt their fans. They'll be expecting their team to win, and no doubt they'll also have a little bit of a spurt in that 5 or 10 minutes just after half-time. And if Peru can hold out till after that, then, you know, who knows, they may just nick something.
Grisales for Colombia. That's untidy and easily cleared. Olsen managed to find himself offside again. The referee has allowed play to go on, however, with Colombia in possession. Hernandez sliding it down that right touchline. They make a little bit more ground, but they've got to get on with it now to change the scoreline before half-time. We're almost there. Well, might be worthy of a yellow card. A pretty deliberate trip. Fortunately for the assailant, it happened in the opposition half. Otherwise, I think he would have been in real trouble there, the number 17, Ramirez.
That was a wild challenge, wasn't it? And I think that just is an example of the frustration that Colombia are beginning to show in this game. So you'd have to think, from a tactical point of view, Peru find themselves 1-0 up.
Jose Soto with the free kick. And that's the end of a very frustrating first half for the host nation, Colombia, who have hardly created an opportunity worthy of the name against the stubborn Peru, who've defended so well. One big talking point: should the goalkeeper of Peru been sent off? The Mexican referee decided no, and we reach half-time at 0-0.
Colegiado mexicano Gilberto Alcalá se retiran del Solari Jayo por parte del equipo de Perú. Todo todavía por decidir. Nos queda una interesante segunda parte con Colombia y Perú buscando una plaza entre los 4 mejores del torneo. Es todo por el momento. Volveremos momentos antes del comienzo de la segunda parte desde Armenia, en Colombia. Hasta luego.
We've seen already that we shouldn't jump to too many conclusions tonight. Just to remind you, later, Brazil hotly tipped to reach the semi-finals, but first they've got to deal with Honduras. That's in our second quarter-final on Sky Sports Extra. Kick-off at 1:45, but we have unfinished business before that in Armenia. Half-time, Colombia 0, Peru 0. Tony Coddy, do you expect Colombia to change things around?
I think they should change things around, but whether they've got a forward to bring on or not, I don't know. They've got a couple of players suspended, a couple of forwards, and whether they can change their tactics or not, I don't know.
How hard is it, Ray, for them to stay patient in this situation, having dominated so far?
It's very frustrating, isn't it? They've had lots of possession of the ball, but as I say, they haven't done the best with it, you know, and I think Aristizabal up front in his own, he'll be very frustrated himself. He's not had many chances and not much support.
What does the coach say to them at half-time in this situation?
Be patient. You know, it'll come. You know, you don't think Peru can carry on for the full 90 minutes defending the way they are. They must get tired at some stage during the course of the second half.
But if they don't...
It's what they're playing for, isn't it? And we'll see very much the same tactics from Peru here, very much.
Is there any redeeming feature in the way Peru have gone about this job tonight for you? Playing to the resources they've got available to them? Well,
they're playing to what they would say are their strengths at the moment, but I mean, I'm a football purist. I mean, it's awful to watch, isn't it, when a team gets a formation of 5-4-1. It's dreadful, but they're playing to their strengths because they've got players missing.
Ray, when they've done so well in the opening phase, Colombia, is that going to provide a little bit of that underlying confidence that they may need in this situation? They've dug it out before. When
well, I think the fact that during that first half they had all the possession of the ball, and you've got to say that Peru hardly had a chance. They had a couple of efforts from long range. That will give them all the confidence. They'll just feel that if they can break them down once, if they score one goal, they're going to win this game.
Very brave referee in that first half to give the away side the benefit of the doubt. Peru still have 11 men, and they have every incentive to keep at it here in the second half. Let's rejoin Brian Marwood and first Alan Parry for the second period.
Welcome back to the Centenary Stadium here in the town of Armenia. Millions watching throughout the nation of Colombia, hoping that their team can improve on their first half performance as the referee prepares to get the second period underway here against the men in the white shirts. Peru 0-0 at half-time. 45 minutes of football, and then, if there's no definite winner, a penalty shootout. And Peru, twice Copa champions, way back in 1939, and then the last time in 1975, the great Peruvian team of Cubillas, Oblitas, Chumpitas, and so on, who did so well in the World Cups of 1970 and 1978. A long, long time ago, and this Peruvian team nowhere near as well known, but their intent obvious right from the kick-off, Brian Marwood. They got the ball in play and played it straight back to their own penalty box.
Well, if they defend as well as they did in the first 45 minutes, then you'd think that this game was heading for penalties, and you would expect then that Peru would have done their job as well as they'd set themselves out to do, and I think that they have defended exceptionally well. Colombia really have got to take the initiative to them. This is an important period, this first 10 minutes of the second half. Can Peru defend as well as they did in that opening period? Can Colombia attack certainly a bit better than they did in the first 45 minutes, where they really were left with one or two half chances, if you like, but they've made that substitution, and the number 4, Cortez, has come on as a left back.
Yes, the local TV company not picking up that fact, but we did see him coming out with the rest of the players at half-time. Cortez, a fullback, an attacking fullback, coming on. Ferreira, who was probably the best attacking player that Colombia had in the first half, lying injured. He was the man who got chopped down more than once, and unfortunately from Colombia's point of view they could make nothing of the free kicks. Nudged over there by Zavallos.
Well, he's taken a couple of hefty challenges, hasn't he? Ferreira, he's looked very bright, very busy, but if Cortez has gone to a left-back position, you have to wonder about Bedoya, the number 20. He was one of Colombia's better players, played as left-back in the first half, but liked to get forward. And if he is now off the field, that will be a massive miss for them.
Gonzalez down the right. Already established, the same pattern that we had throughout most of the first 45 minutes. Hernandez This is Gonzalez again. Clever little ball chipped into the area. Hernandez tries to take over. Grisales across the face of goal. Peru scramble it away for a corner.
Well, that was certainly better from Colombia. And it's no surprises for me that they got into the wide area and they created something. And I think when they do get into wide areas, it certainly spreads that Peruvian rear guard. It gives them more difficulties. It gives Colombia more chance to get players forward.
Yeah, there's the central defender forward for this corner. He was one of those who went in with Orozco, the other centre-half. But it's come to nothing yet again for Colombia. And the luckiest man on this field waves his defenders upfield. Jimenez, the goalkeeper, who I think virtually everyone who saw the incident would agree should have been red-carded for a deliberate handball outside his area. El Salah with a through ball, too far for Holson, who's barely had any service to speak of, playing up front on his own for Peru tonight.
I'd be amazed if Holson survives the full 90 minutes, because he really has been asked to do an incredible job up there, just really chasing lost causes, and that's all it's been for him.
Grisales for Colombia. Pereira. Oh, that was almost the perfect ball over the head of the defender for Hernandez. Just didn't carry. Ramirez. That was risky.
And again, Peru, you know, it's quite comfortable for them when Colombia insist on maintaining their attacks through a central area. I think once they've gone wide, they've looked better, and they've certainly looked a little bit more creative. But there you can see, just look at the bodies there from Peru.
Hernandez, can he open up this Peruvian defence? The ball was intended for Ferreira on the back post, never reached him, but here he is now. And the newcomer Cortés returns it to Ferreira. Oh, poor ball. And once again, Peru, without really breaking sweat, it has to be said, defend efficiently. But once again, they're opened up, and this could be the goal, and it is! At long last, Aristizábal has broken Peru. And the man whose goals have taken Colombia to the brink of the semi-finals has scored again.
Well, I said this would be a crucial period in the game. You know, could Peru hang on? We knew Colombia would come out, perhaps all guns firing just after the half-time. No doubt the coach had one or two important words to say about the pace and the tempo of the game. And they've taken their attacks to Peru, and we thought Peru would hang on, but Aristizábal found the correct run to make in behind the centre-halves, and it's a wonderful finish. And it's a finish of a man that has plenty of confidence. He knows exactly where Jimenez, the goalkeeper, is, and he knows that he has to get the ball up in the air. There's a slight touch from the goalkeeper, but unfortunately for Peru, it isn't really enough to take the ball wide of the goal. But certainly it's the goal that Colombia deserve. They've huffed and puffed, and they've found it very difficult indeed to get ahead in this game. Now they have, it will certainly settle the nerves.
A goal greeted with a mixture of joy and relief by the host nation. Aristizábal's fourth goal of the tournament. He's now only one behind the leading Copa America scorer, as the referee hails the ball down in dismay there, having given the free kick to Peru. Paulo Wanchop of Costa Rica has 5 goals, but of course his team are out, so he can't add to that total. Aristizábal can, if Colombia progress. They've got to face a free kick here. Jorge Soto lining up. It was a poor effort.
Well, we've got a different game now, because Peru are going to have to come out and try and get back into this game, which should allow Colombia a lot more space to operate in and hopefully give them more chances. But I think that we talked about how fitting it was that Colombia did score. They have been the better side without really being overly creative.
As Grisales tries his luck.
Well, it was ambitious, and really was the tightest of angles. Just apologising to his teammates, but now no doubt we'll see a rampant Colombia side. We've just seen the goal again. It's a wonderful finish from Aristizábal. I think that he's a player that's certainly in form. He's a player that now with 4 goals, Aristizábal could certainly find himself the leading goal scorer in the Copa America.
Well, what a wonderful championships he's enjoyed already. And justice, really, about the scoreline now. And we said in the first half that Peru's tactics were fine and understandable as long as they kept the clean sheet. But what are they going to do now?
Well, it's a long time to maintain your concentration if you're going to play that way, Alan. That's the difficulty that any side has got. And I just think that Peru aren't really good enough to play that way. I think from an attacking sense, you know, they're very clever on the ball. I think Del Solar is vital to the way they play. Unfortunately, they are missing key players. We talked about Lobaton being a huge miss for them. But now they're going to have to take the game to Colombia.
Garcia had his effort blocked and is claiming a corner. It looked to me as though he might have had a claim as well, but the referee points for a goal kick.
I just wonder whether Uribe now just changed his line-up. He's, for the best part of the game, just played with Holson up front on his own. I just wonder whether Garcia may now join him.
Rosales for Colombia. The onus now on the men in white from Peru. The scoreline will do very nicely from Colombia's point of view. It will take them through to a semi-final meeting against either Brazil or Honduras, if it stays that way. That semi-final, incidentally, will be played in Manizales on Thursday evening. How do Peru respond to the necessary change in tactics?
Well, certainly they'll just want to compose themselves again. I think that we've seen now Colombia take that lead, but they need to get back to passing the ball and certainly defending as well as they did in the first half.
Ferreira making ground. It's a great run by Ferreira. Just couldn't quite pull it back to Vargas when he realized that he wasn't able to get a shot in from that angle. Here's Del Solar, the man who surely is capable of lifting Peru back into this match. Now Garcia. Surely he'll be pushed a little further forward now to give some support to the lonely Holson. Got to be careful about tackles like that, Colombia. They don't want to give away free kicks in this area. And for the first time in the game, really, Cordoba was at full stretch.
That was an excellent save, because I think you must have seen it quite late, but that's better play from Peru. That's the type of capabilities that we know they possess. Good, quick, effective passing.
Rosales. This is Gonzalez. They can afford to slow it now, Colombia, and try and tempt Peru out. And that's not a bad ball either for Ferreira. Good block there by the defender, and it had to be from the big number 6, Hernandez.
Well, Ferreira is a very sharp, bright character, and that's the opportunity that Peru had moments earlier. Good save from Cordoba, but now Colombia having another opportunity from the set piece. But Ferreira now seems to be finding a little bit more space to work in.
But he does love a shot, doesn't he?
He wants a ball of his own, doesn't he, Gonzalez? I think every time it comes to him, he just wants to do what he wants to do. He's not really bothered about where his teammates are.
You know, John Gregory, the Aston Villa manager, has this little rule that he finds players who shoot from outside the penalty area. Well, I think Rosales would have given up his week's wages by now. Garcia.
That's the Colombian coach, Macherano, that will be feeling a little bit better now. He saw his side frustrated for the best part of the first 45 minutes. But that crucial goal coming at such a crucial time, just after half-time. And I think that now it will settle his side's nerves, and certainly it will do a lot for the fans in this stadium, who clearly are predominantly on hoping that their home side can get through to the semi-finals. And it's a mouth-watering prospect, the fact that they may well meet Brazil.
Here goes Rosales. Shoot! Shout the fans. Hasn't needed any encouragement to do that. turned out to be a decent ball, and another chance for a goal. Oh, the keeper did well this time. Got down quickly to deny Aristizabal with a fine left-handed save.
Oh, it's a player, isn't it? Aristizabal. Just look at the way that he shimmied on the edge of the box. That's pure composure, and that's pure quality. And then maintain his composure with a strike. That's an excellent save from Ibanez.
Aristizabal had a brief spell in European football. He played for Valencia in the Spanish league. 29 now, but he certainly looks capable of stepping back up to that kind of level again. His goal separates the sides. Hernandez with the corner kick. Wasn't the best. Pereira trying to win it back, but fails to do so, and then commits the foul.
Well, I think there's a word of caution also for Colombia. They can't afford now just to let the pace drop. Taking the game to Peru. Peru have cracked, and they certainly showed no signs of that in the first half. But now, having got that goal, Colombia need to make sure that they are focused and determined at the back, but maintain that pace in midfield and up front.
And remember, Colombia have yet to concede a goal in this tournament. And their coach, Macherana, has done a fine job. He's only been in charge for a couple of months. It's altogether his third spell in control of the national side, and he's also been head coach to Ecuador, Costa Rica, and also, ironically, today's opponents, Peru. Coaches move around as much as players, it seems, in South American football. Here goes Pereira again. Oh, that's a lovely ball for Cortez. Pulled back towards Aristizabal in the 6-yard box, but couldn't find it.
Well, that's wonderful play, and again, the benefit in getting into those wide areas. But I've got to say, Ferreira's coming more and more into this football match. He's very bright, he's very sharp. It's a wonderful ball to the substitute, Cortez, and Cortez's ball into the danger area, just evading Aristizabal, because he certainly looked odds on to get his goal and Colombia's second goal.
Orozco leaving it to Vargas. Oh, beautiful play. The deftest of touches there to play it back to Vargas.
Well, they're playing with so much more confidence than they did in the first half, aren't they, Colombia? They're clearly buoyed by that goal. They're clearly sensing now that they're on the verge of the semi-final.
Coming up to an hour gone, and you're just left really being disappointed that the goal didn't come earlier in the game. It would have made it a better match had Peru's negative but understandable tactics not paid off.
Well, I think it was certainly the right way to play, but now Uribe showing his tactical prowess in setting his side up to frustrate Colombia, and now got to have a look at it from a tactical point of view to get back into the match.
Barcelona's shot goes flashing wide.
Well, they can't allow him to play. He has got a lot of quality, and on his right foot, he certainly likes to get it more on his much favoured left foot, but isn't far away.
Cortez. Vargas takes over. And now Ramirez for Colombia, who lead 1-0, half an hour remaining in this quarter-final tie here in Armenia. The busy, lively Ferreira in possession again. Rizales curls one in, and it's not bad. Aristizabal showing he can also be pretty useful in the air, never mind on the ground.
Well, what Colombia have done also is Ferreira's now playing almost in that role behind Aristizabal and just in front of the midfield. And Peru are not quite sure how to deal with him. He's getting that space and time just to manoeuvre openings, turn on the ball and thread little passes. Aristizabal's pace and cleverness in and around the box is creating chances, but there's Gonzalez, the player that we've seen have perhaps more shots than anybody else in this tournament, and that's just in one game.
Like many of the nations in this Copa America, incidentally, this is something of an experimental Colombian squad. They've only called up 5 of their foreign-based players, and they've brought up and promoted a lot of promising new young talent. And Colombia have won the prestigious Toulon tournament, which is held every summer in France for the last 2 years, or the previous 2 years to this, although they ended up this time around as runners-up, making the final again, but being beaten by Portugal. So there's obviously some good talent coming through at younger level for Colombia. A team that have had some great and famous stars down the years. The likes of the frizzy-haired Carlos Valderrama leaps to mind immediately in more recent times. They have been one of those nations outside of the obvious two of Argentina, Brazil, and probably Uruguay, who have always been a good side without pulling up too many trees in the major championships.
There's Ferreira involved, and his darting runs a real problem for Peru now.
Half-decent cross as well, no one responding really. Well, Peru have got to buck up their ideas now to stay in the competition. Olsen with that. Twisted, returned, he got nowhere.
It's just a frustrating evening for the Peruvian frontman Olsen, but I'm a little bit surprised that Uribe now, the coach of Peru, hasn't changed it. You know, he can't carry on just playing up front on his own, and the chances certainly have been few and far between. They now have to go for it, Peru. And, well, whether he thinks that there's some credit in losing 1-0, I don't know, but I believe he's got to start throwing a few men more forward and really trying to get something out of this football match.
And Peru are almost certainly out of contention for next year's World Cup finals, so this is an important competition for them. They haven't reached the finals of the World Cup since Spain back in 1982. Here's Garcia for Peru, the team all in white, trailing 1-0 to the host nation. Zabayos. Can't get out of that habit of going backwards at the moment. Well, that's wonderful play again. And then a sloppy ball to spoil things from Colombia's perspective.
Herrera's become a leading light now in this game, not only from an attacking sense, but also he's worked back incredibly well, and it's that position that he finds himself between attack and midfield that Peru are having a problem with.
Garcia, lay off by Olsen. They had a close look at that tackle. No free kick given, so Grisales has the chance to break quickly here. Went on to Hernandez. It was well spotted then by the big central defender, and Pozuelo back in possession again. Well, at no stage have Peru looked out of it in this game, and Colombia's slender lead might not be enough to see them through yet. They would certainly worship the opportunity to get a second goal, and then I would think they would be almost home and dry back.
Well, I think this has been their least convincing performance so far, the Copa America, where the nerves are getting to them a little bit now. The further they go, the more expectations they are of them winning it, and I think now at quarter-final stage with the prospect of a semi-final against Brazil, it may just be affecting the players.
We're about to make a change now as Hernandez and Vargas take Colombia forward. Aristizabal wanted it on the near post, and it almost reached it, but it's gone in anyway. That is the second goal that Colombia have been looking for, and that surely now will be their passport to the semi-finals. And well-deserved, you have to say.
Well, it was a super build-up, it really was, and you wonder whether it's just going to be a matter of time before Colombia got that second goal, and you really can't see Peru coming back from that. At 1-0, there's always a chance, and it's that substitute Cortés again on that left-hand side. We talked about the benefit of width. Peru couldn't clear their lines, and the ball fell in vitally for the midfield player Hernandez, and he really did finish it superbly well. He didn't have to take a touch. He had enough confidence in his own ability to just strike that home with his left foot, and when the chance looked as if it escaped Colombia, Hernandez made Peru pay.
2-0. They remain unbeaten as far as their own goal is concerned in these championships, and they remain on course for maximum points, once again having won all 3 games in the first phase. But most importantly, Colombia remain on course for the semi-finals of the Copa America.
Well, it's party time now, you'd think, in Colombia. The fans now will be a lot more relieved, and well, what will Peru do? They now have a huge mountain to climb. Confidence now will be draining away from them. They've had a good stab at it. I think that they've come into this game with a game plan, and for the best part of certainly the first half they completed the job, but it was that important period just after that half-time interval where you really need to concentrate, you really need to focus. Colombia got that goal, and now adding a second, well, it could well go on to be 3-4.
And here's Cortez, who's had a part to play in the build-up to both of the goals. And they're threatening to run riot at this point, Colombia. He's given a free kick against them.
Well, it's that man Ferreira, but I really think he is lit up the game as far as Colombia is concerned. I think there's 1 or 2 very good turns indeed that we saw from him on the edge of the box, but other than that, he was fairly ineffective. But now in this second half, he seems to be popping everywhere. The coach has just altered his role slightly, and it seems to have benefited, and the team have certainly benefited from that.
Well, those goals have acted like taking the lid off a pressure cooker, because you could sense the anxiety from Colombia's point of view. Always the dominant team in terms of possession, but equally always frustrated in the first half by Peru. Now they've got those goals. Just look at the confidence flowing and the excellence of their football now. Rizales with a great cross. It could be 3. It is! What an absolute peach of a goal! And Colombia are on their way. And Aristizabal has scored again and is now equal top scorer in the whole tournament.
Well, that's as good a move as you're going to see. Never mind the Copa America, never mind the World Cup, never mind the European Championships. That's magnificent play. And once again, the benefit of wit. And, well, Aristizabal is certainly getting all the attention at the moment. His second goal was a marvellous cross from Gonzalez on that right-hand side. It was a wonderful ball initially from Gonzalez, the number 16, with the outside of his right foot. But what a well-placed, powerful header that is. And that is a player in form. And as well as Ibanez gets perhaps just a little bit of a touch to that, the power, the pace, the accuracy of the header made sure that Colombia now find themselves 3-0 ahead. There's no way back for Peru. They are dead and buried.
What a wonderful move. There have been some spectacular goals in this tournament. I remember certainly one from Danielson that springs to mind. But in terms of the passes involved and the accuracy of the cross and the devastating power and placement of the header, that's got to be right up there with one of the goals of the Copa so far, Brian.
Well, we talk about cutting edge, and that certainly had cutting edge, because it must have travelled, what, 60, 70 yards. Colombia's almost midfield stroke defensive third got the ball forward early, devastating pace on that right-hand side, and, well, unbelievable quality from the cross, and an immaculate finish.
Yeah, but more so than Del Solar's then for Peru. But they're beaten, they're demoralised, they know it. There is no way back. 20 minutes remaining, you'd normally say, well, hang on, you know, let's not be too hasty here. But there is no way on earth that Colombia are going to be overpowered now.
Well, you could be critical of the marking of Peru, but I think that the devastation of the pace of that attack really told on Peru, and at the moment, I think they'll just be delighted to see out the game at 3-0, because more and more now Colombia are creating chances, and more Peru now are going to pieces.
Well, they are capable of scoring goals, Peru, we know that. They got 3 against Paraguay in the opening phase, but the difference was that on that occasion they led 3 times in the game, with Paraguay finally coming back with a stoppage time equaliser. So there was never much of a margin between the 2 teams. Now they are 3 behind to the host nation in front of an ecstatic crowd here in Armenia, and really it's exhibition football now from Colombia. and the prospect of meeting with Brazil in the semi-finals. What a match that promises to be. Let me remind you, Brazil have got to earn their place there yet, because of course they still have to play Honduras straight after this game. A game you can see later this evening.
Well, in many respects, we talked about the pressure that was on Colombia this evening, because they were fully expected to dispose of Peru. Peru have had a very patchy Copa America so far, and just got through as a wild card in third place, but Colombia really did stutter in that opening 45 minutes, but it'll be different against Brazil, because in some respects Brazil will be the favourites to go through, and that might just ease that pressure on Colombia, and I think that they will perhaps benefit from that. But of course Brazil have to get through their tie later this evening. Colombia can enjoy the moment, and it's richly deserved. They've tactically worked out the problems that they were facing in the first 45 minutes, and having worked that out, they've now got 3 goals, and they're now in total control.
And Pereira is knocked to the ground. The referee, amazingly, hasn't given a free kick. Gonzalez, meantime, has conceded a corner. Well, they need more than urgency about their play now. Peru, they need a miracle. What they've decided to do is make a substitution. In fact, both teams are about to make a change here. Edson Uribe, number 10 for Peru, who is the son of the coach, is going to come on for Jorge Soto. We'll wait and see what change Colombia are going to make. Uribe, a little midfield player. We still wait and see what change Colombia are going to make. Peru's corner. Eventually. Confusion down on the touchline. Hernandez, the player who's coming off, having scored the critical second goal. He's going to go off to a standing ovation. He looks absolutely drained emotionally, the youngster. The referees are having to tell him it's him going off. What a reception.
He's got a handshake for everybody on the field as well. He's milking the moment, and why not? He really has played his part.
He will be replaced by Mauricio Molina. As Colombia deal with the corner, and Uribe, the latest substitute for Peru, has his shot blocked.
Well, I guess you've got to say it's an attacking move by Peru. Jorge Soto is a more defensive player, and Uribe more an attacking threat, but you just wonder where their goals are going to come from now. Peru, because they look aside now, severely lacking confidence. Their game plan has certainly gone down the pan, and you just wonder where they're going to find any inspiration whatsoever to possibly get back into this match.
Indeed, you also wonder, in this mood, who is capable of beating Colombia. Far from vintage Brazil, remember, and with that massive factor of home advantage in their favour, things are looking very good for Colombia at this moment, and I, for one, wouldn't bet anything against them lifting the title. We keep saying Brazil, and we have to keep reminding you that they're not in the semi-final yet. They've got Honduras. On paper, of course, they would be heavily expected to win that one, but you never know.
I think let's see if Honduras employ the sort of tactics that Peru came into this game with, and there you can see Peru.
What a challenge that.
That's great, it really was, and we've seen that 1 or 2 times in this Copa America from Hi-Ho, the number 8. The referee now just having to calm things down, and this Zabal getting involved with his teammates, pulling them away. There's really no need for them to get involved now. They can't afford further suspensions.
Well, Yepes has been yellow carded for his retaliation. Now, if the referee doesn't take action against the player who committed the original tackle, he's got it wrong. And Yepes is in the mood to getting even deeper trouble. Aristizábal laying down the law, and you don't argue with the fellow who's got 2 goals. That was Yepes with the caution for the way he reacted. What's the referee going to do with the Peruvian player concerned?
Zabal showing all his experience and absolutely fuming with Yepes, and there's no need, said earlier, for any of the Colombian players to now get involved. They're 3-0 ahead.
I still can't believe that somebody who hacks an opponent down gets away with it, as Gonzalez tries to get away down this right-hand side again. It's getting a little bit unpleasant now. One or two of the tackles. There's Gonzalez.
I've got to say, when Gonzalez is not shooting, he can be a threat. He sort of possesses fantastic pace, and when they have got him away on this right-hand side, he certainly has delivered the goods, and he did with the cross that resulted in that third goal, and it was as good a move as we've seen right through the Copa America.
The crowd now responding to every accurate pass by a Colombian player. So they won't bother with that one. I still think it's a pity from the competition's point of view, if you're a neutral, that it's worked out the way it has. I think I, for one, would love to have seen a Colombia-Brazil final, and I'm sure that goes for most neutrals, Brian.
Yeah, I think that perhaps would have been a fitting end. It's been a troubled tournament in respect of what everybody had to deal with the formalities coming into this event, but since it's been on the way, we've seen a lot of good flowing football. We've seen some excellent goals, and receiving hasn't been any different. Of course, it's been an interesting tactical battle. Colombia have won that tactical battle, but now Peru making a substitute, and it's most influential player, Del Solar, who is coming off, and Tempone, the midfield player, that will take his place. And Del Solar has been one of the better players that we have seen in the Copa America this year.
He's not going to play any further part in the tournament unless there is a quite miraculous turnaround in the last 10 minutes here. And you can't see it, you really can't. So could Colombia be on the verge of a little bit of history? Remember, they've never staged the tournament before, they've never won the tournament before, and now they are surely just 10 minutes or so away from a place in the semi-final. And anything they get from here on in would be a bonus. We're going through the motions, but frankly, playing like a team who know they're beaten. No conviction about their play. If anything, you feel it's more likely that Colombia could score again, because they're still in the mood. Aristizábal with the through ball. I think you'd want him on the end of it rather than providing. I suppose Paulo Wanchop, having scored again for Costa Rica last night in their defeat against Uruguay, would have been consoling himself as he travelled back to Manchester, perhaps even this morning, that at least he might finish up leading scorer in the competition. Well, that he might, of course, but it could only be joint leading scorer now with Aristizábal, who also has 5 goals. And Aristizábal is going to have at least one more game to improve his total.
He's looked pretty impressive, hasn't he? And actually point to a couple of opportunities he had in the first half. So when you look at the ratio that he has had, he's had 1 or 2 chances that he may well be disappointed he didn't make more of, but the 2 goals that he has scored, he's shown a real predatory instinct in and around the danger area, and that's all you can ask for your centre forward. And right through this tournament, he's been a real threat.
Uruguay have been stubborn opponents. They've not exactly got there in the most entertaining or attractive way, but they have got there into the last 4. Mexico, too, have proved that they have what it takes. But personally, Brian, with the exception of Brazil when they are unsung, I don't think I've seen anyone that impresses more than the Colombians.
No, I think, as you rightly said, it's a great shame that that wasn't going to be the potential final, because Uruguay, yeah, I mean, they were a little bit fortunate to go through, because we did feel that Costa Rica were the better side, but Uruguay defensively are very strong, very difficult to break down, and they've got that real dogged determination, and they showed that in abundance last night. They got them the victory that took them into the semi-final. Mexico have been very poor over the last sort of 12 months really, and looked awful against England. They're rebuilding, and they've had some encouraging results in the Copa America, of course, beating Brazil, which would have given them a huge boost, but you'd have to think Uruguay would be favourites to get through to the final, and then it's down to what on paper could be the most exciting game of all in this tournament, and that is the anticipated semi-final clash between Colombia and Brazil.
So we could, as things stand, have a repeat of the last Copa America final of 2 years ago when Brazil won the title, beating Uruguay in the final. But there's one heck of a lot of twists and turns before that can come about. 7 minutes to go. Colombia 3, Peru 0. And another one of the heroes of the night goes off to a standing ovation. Although Ramirez has done an excellent job, is replaced by Dia. The coach, quite rightly now, just preserving, if you like, the energy of one or two of the players, because that game will come around very quickly on Thursday evening. But this fella's energy has been outstanding, and this could have been the moment when Aristizábal completed the hat-trick and went clear as leading scorer.
Well, he's been so deadly, so prolific in those areas, you really would have expected him to notch his hat-trick, but once again Ferreira finding that space to really twist and turn and run at this rear guard of Peru, and that's really, I think, been one of the most important factors of Colombia being as dominant as they had in this second period.
Just thinking one man who will be very relieved, perhaps, though he'll never admit it, that the scoreline has turned out this way, is the Mexican referee, who surely should have sent off Peru's goalkeeper in the first half when it was still 0-0. People will probably forget about that now. As we move towards the closing 5 minutes here in Armenia. And here's the chance for Aristizábal to notch his third.
Well, I think it was Jose Soto had just got across in time. It could quite easily have been Colombia's fourth goal and Aristizábal's hat-trick, but he certainly has deserved those 3 goals. He really has been outstanding, led the line extremely well. But you talked about the balance of this Colombian side, Alan, and the balance is very good. I think at the back they've defended well, in midfield with some important playmakers, and up front, their front two of Ferreira and Aristizábal will create problems against any side that's left in this tournament.
And of course they have got others to come back into the lineup as well. 3 players suspended and 1 injured tonight. Castillo started their opening match up front, and I don't think he's played since because of that injury, so he might be struggling, I guess. But the suspended players would all come back into the reckoning. Well, they could be stronger when they go through to that semi-final appointment. The semi-final will be in Manizales, which is, of course, where Brazil and Honduras meet later tonight. I'm sure the coach Mascherano will be watching that one very closely. Don't forget, it follows straight after that game the match between the 6 times Copa champions Brazil and the outsiders, I guess you'd call them now, Honduras. Over enthusiastic, the challenge, and Uribe shaped to shoot, changed his mind, lost possession. Aristizábal slowing it down. Vargas speeding it up again. But what a run. Oh, and this could be another.
Well played, the goalkeeper. Just too far ahead, wasn't it, the substitute Molina, but Ferrara again involved in the move. He seems to have found a lot of space in that area that we were talking about between the Peruvian centre-halves and the midfield, and whenever he's picked the ball up, he's been a threat.
Cortez has done really well as well, hasn't he, since coming on there in that left back position, that wing back?
He is, because Bedoya, who played in that position in the first half, was Colombia's one of their best players, and he provided a lot of threat on that left-hand side. And we thought with the injury to him, going off and having to reshuffle, but well, I don't know whether that's a real problem, because the way that Gonzalez pulled up holding his hamstring.
Yeah, he's in trouble, and he is important for them down this right-hand side. His combination with Gonzalez is a key factor in the way they play, and hamstrings notoriously take a long time to heal. Got to get it absolutely right, and he's only got, what, 48 hours or so before they have to make a decision there. That'll be worrying for the coach Macherano.
There's no time, is there, really, to prepare properly, and the sides that do get to the semis and finals really almost stumble through the last week or so, because they won't really be able to do an awful lot of training and work out their tactics before key games, and that must be frustrating for the coaches in particular when they want to prepare their sides effectively for arguably what are the more bigger games, which are quarterfinals, semis and possibly finals, and you are without key players. And Gonzalez is certainly a key player, and the way that he pulled up, just feeling his hamstring, whether that's just tiredness, I don't know, but certainly the coach won't want to make any risks with him.
Yeah, best thing surely take him off, get the ice on the injury now. No point in any risks at this stage as we move, in fact, into the last minute. Bizarre defending there, and the shot through the crowd. Was that a handball? Peru think there was. The referee doesn't agree.
Well, the referee was actually in a very good position. There may well have been strong claims, but that ball was really pinged around the goal mouth, and you can see there Gonzalez is troubled right hamstring.
It's just as well they have got players coming back from suspension. They might need them. And to find out who they will be playing in the semi-final, stay tuned for the fourth and last of the quarter-final ties between Brazil and Honduras. Well, I suppose you would say that a player who scored 2 goals and very nearly 3, Aristizábal, would take the headlines, but I have to say that I think Ferreira, the little number 8 on the ball now, has been Colombia's best player.
Well, again, he's just finding that area of the field where he's had a lot of joy in the second half, and I think that a lot of that has got to go down to the coach Macherano. He really felt that Peru, no doubt, were frustrating his side for long periods in that first 45 minutes. And in the second half, he had to change things. And they've got Ferreira into the game more and more. And because of that, from an attacking sense, Colombia have been a problem to Peru.
Ferreira on the ball again. Using the substitute in the wide position. Oh, that could be a penalty.
Well, he stumbled. Yeah, he stumbled. I think that's a good decision from the referee. But certainly since his introduction, Molina, he's a very forceful runner.
The referee didn't even consider it, seemingly. 2 minutes of stoppage time, and almost the first minute of that has elapsed. And the referee has had enough. And Colombia, the host nation, have duly taken their place in the semi-finals, having emphatically defeated Peru by 3-0. There in the last 4, they will meet the winners of Brazil and Honduras, being played later tonight.
Thank you, Alan. And just
jugará a continuación, aproximadamente dentro de 25 minutos, y quedará comienzo en Manizales entre Brasil y Honduras, partido que también podrán seguir en esta madrugada española por esta misma cadena. Ahí vemos a Maturana, la alegría de los jugadores colombianos, la alegría del público. La fiesta no va a terminar aquí, la fiesta va a seguir durante muchas horas en todo Colombia y especialmente en esta localidad, en la capital del departamento de Quindío, en Armenia. Es todo, señores, que sigan ustedes disfrutando con la Copa América que Televisión les está ofreciendo desde Colombia. Muchas gracias, ha sido un placer desde Armenia, en Colombia. Buenas noches.